Have you heard of an African leader who seized and dismissed US and British military outposts in Libya, as well as committing other crimes against his people? This video analyzes Moammar Gaddafi's birth, power struggles, activities, anti-protest, and demise. Please be informed that some parts of this video require viewer discretion.
All my people with me, they love me, all.
But if they do love you,
they will die to protect me, my people.
This was the voice of late Moammar Gaddafi, the de facto leader of Libya from 1969 to 2011, who ruled Libya for more than 40 years. Moammar Gaddafi was born in a tent in the Libyan desert in 1942, near Sirte. He was a bright student who graduated from the Libyan University in 1963. Gaddafi, a devout Muslim and fervent Arab patriot, began preparing to depose King Idris I of Libya from an early age. In 1965, he graduated from the Libyan Military College and steadily advanced through the ranks, all the while plotting a coup with the support of his fellow army commanders. How Gaddafi seized power in Libya and how he uses it? In a military coup on September 1, 1969, Gaddafi took control of the government and toppled King Idris. Gaddafi was named Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and head of the Revolutionary Command Council, Libya's new governing authority. In 1970, under Gaddafi's leadership, the US and British military bases in Libya were decommissioned. In the same year, he exiled the majority of Libya's native Italian and Jewish communities, and in 1973, he nationalized all foreign-owned petroleum assets in the country. In accordance with his own stringent Islamic ideals, he also made alcoholic beverages and gambling illegal. As the year 1970 progressed, Gaddafi launched a series of fruitless attempts to unite Libya with other Arab states. He was fiercely opposed to negotiations with Israel, and he became the leader of the so-called Arab Rejectionist Front in this regard. Libyan soldiers have repeatedly participated in the long-running civil conflict in neighboring Chad, and his administration has been linked to multiple failed coup attempts in Egypt and Sudan. On the world stage, Gaddafi was becoming recognized for his erratic and unpredictable behavior. His administration supported a wide range of revolutionary and terrorist organizations around the world, including the Black Panthers and the Nation of Islam in the United States, as well as the Irish Republican Army in Northern Ireland. Libyan operatives assassinated émigré opponents overseas, and his regime is accused of being engaged in a number of bloody terrorist attacks in Europe carried out by Palestinian or other Arab fanatics. These operations drew him into increasing conflict with the US administration, and in April 1986, a group of US jets based in the United Kingdom targeted several Libyan, killing or wounding several of his children and narrowly missing Gaddafi himself. Following Gaddafi's promise that Libya would end its unconventional weapons program, the UN sanctions against Libya were withdrawn in 2003, and the US also eased most of its penalties. Moammar Gaddafi speech at UN. Gaddafi was chosen chairman of the African Union, in February 2009, and he gave his first statement before the UN General Assembly later that year. The lengthy critical speech, in which he flung a copy of the United Nations Charter, sparked widespread outrage among the international community. In early 2010, Gaddafi's effort to stay on as chairman of the African Union for longer than the regular one-year term was greeted with opposition from many other African countries and was ultimately disallowed. Anti-Gaddafi protest in Libya. With all of Gaddafi's acts, anti-Gaddafi demonstrations erupted in the Libyan city of Benghazi. The Gaddafi dictatorship attempted to forcefully crush the protests as they spread across the country, ordering police and mercenary forces to fire live gunfire at protesters and artillery, fighter planes, and helicopter gunships to target demonstration areas. The regime's assault on the protesters was condemned by foreign government officials and international human rights organizations. Senior Libyan government officials were likewise enraged by Gaddafi's aggressive actions. In protest, Libya's Minister of Justice resigned, as did a number of top Libyan ambassadors. Gaddafi called to resign. On February 22, Gaddafi gave a rambling combative statement on state television, refusing to step down and accusing the protesters of being traitors and saboteurs.
I will not leave the country, and I will die as a martyr at the end.
Various reports from Tripoli.
He stated that Al-Qaeda was behind the protests and that the demonstrators were under the effect of hallucinogenic drugs. He pushed his supporters to confront demonstrators in order to defend him. International pressure on Gaddafi to resign grew as the opposition grew stronger. The UN Security Council overwhelmingly imposed sanctions against the Gaddafi dictatorship on February 26, including a travel ban, an arms embargo, and the freezing of the Gaddafi family's assets. On February 28, the United States announced that it had frozen $30 billion in Libyan assets linked to Gaddafi. Although international opposition to Gaddafi's actions continued to build, his forces seemed to regain the upper hand in Libya, retaking many of the areas that had been taken by the rebels early in the conflict. As Gaddafi's forces advanced on Bangs, the UN Security Council voted on March 17 to authorize military intervention to protect civilians. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, caused tremendous damage to pro-Gaddafi forces, but did not tilt the balance decisively in favor of the rebels. Gaddafi's youngest son, Saif al-Arab, and 3 of Gaddafi's grandchildren were killed in a NATO air raid on Gaddafi's Bibi al-Atsiyah property in Tripoli on April 30. Gaddafi, who was apparently present at the time of the incident, escaped unharmed. NATO denied following the airstrike that it had developed a strategy of attempting to assassinate Gaddafi. On May 16, 2011, the International Criminal Court called for arrest warrants to be issued against Gaddafi, along with his son Saif al-Islam and the Libyan intelligence chief, Abdullah Sanusi, for ordering attacks on civilians during the uprising. The arrest warrants, for crimes against humanity, were issued on June 27. In August 2011, Gaddafi's hold on power appeared to break when rebel forces entered Tripoli and took control of most areas of the city. Death of Gaddafi. Gaddafi was killed in Sirte on October 20, 2011 as rebel forces took control of the city, one of the last remaining loyalist strongholds. Moammar Gaddafi was the de facto leader of Libya from 1969 to 2011. He ruled Libya for more than 40 years. Benjamin Carson says, and I quote, "Beware of abuse of power, both by those we disagree with, as well as those we may agree with." Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Kindly like, comment and subscribe on this channel for more interesting stories. Do not forget to click on the notification bell to get you notified whenever we post a new video. Thank you.